Hello everybody, this is Sequence Break, episode 16, ROM Hacks with GlitchCat7. And here he is, GlitchCat7.
Howdy.
Howdy, thanks,
How's
man.
it going, everybody?
Hope everyone, thank you so much for doing this, man. I appreciate it a lot.
I'm really excited. I love doing stuff like this.
This is great, man. So if you were to, if people were to ask you, hey, what is your involvement with the Mario community or the speedrunning community? What would you tell people if they were to ask you kind of like what you do?
Well, I'm a streamer. I play ROM hacks. I make ROM hacks. I'm also heavily involved in community organization for a lot of events. I help and participate with MMC, and we do ROM hack races on our own channel. That's a weekly thing that we're adding more content to that. So I run my own channel and I'm a partner on that. And then I also help out with some other events and stuff. And I've ran at GDQ in the past.
That's awesome. That's one of the things we're going to get to. One of the things I'm really impressed by what you do is everything you've done for the community, the speedrunning community, the Mario community, and all these different things. And we'll get there because it's really impressive. And just I think the community is so much better because you're a part of it. So, so that being said, when did you first get started with video games? What's your origin story?
Oh man. Okay. Look, I know this sounds like I wrote this ahead of time and I've had some time to think about it, but honestly, this is it. When I was a little kid, like a really little kid, my parents worked at the mall and my mom worked at the candy store, which how cool is that, right? You know, that's awesome. And so we didn't have a lot of money for babysitters at the time. And so they would take me to work with them at the mall and they would leave me at the arcade for a while and let me play the machines that were there. So here's like little tiny kid me standing on a milk crate to see over the controls to try to play. And yeah, that was it. I was just hooked like immediately. It was just like, oh, is that a video game machine? We'd like go places and I'd see some other sort of machine and like get really disappointed that it wasn't a video game. Like I was hooked like immediately, like as a kid. That's
so interesting that the arcade is your first experience, not necessarily the home console or something that was brought back home. Do you remember some of the early games that kind of hooked you into gaming?
There was Tumble Pop was the first one I played. Not a lot of people.
No,
do you remember it?
Do you know that? No, I've never heard of it.
It's kind of like it's have you ever played Snow Brothers?
Yeah, I actually have played. Yeah, definitely familiar with that.
It's similar to Snow Brothers. You're a little dude with a little vacuum backpack and you suck up monsters and spit them back out, kind of like Kirby, really.
Yeah.
And you go around the world and clear stages and stuff. And I've actually never even seen a machine of that like since I got older. It's really weird, but they had one at the mall. I played that and I played Miss Pac-Man and Galaga. And that was just like what was available. They had I remember playing Bust a Move with the little the little dragons from Bubble Bobble, and you line up the bubbles like Puzzle Bobble, I think it's called. And Dr. Mario too. They had that at the arcade.
I think I can't remember when I found your stream. It might have been 2000, probably around 17 or 18. But now, you destroy video games. Like you just take them apart. Did you have that approach to gaming when you were a kid, or is that something you've kind of developed over time? Yeah, you did.
I always wanted to be really, really good. I don't want to toot my own horn. But just like some kids really got into bug collecting or some other hobby, and like I got into video games, and that was just it. I just really wanted to know all the secrets, find all the secret exits, be just really good. And it was funny because it wasn't even really to impress my friends or anything. It was just to do it. Like we didn't like, I can't like tell you the story of how all us kids would get together and I wanted to be like top kid on the block. That's like not even true. It was just me like just sitting there. But yeah, I just loved it. I was kind of a weird kid, and I almost feel like it was like a world that I could understand. I could control it. I could get better. And it made sense to me, right? When a lot of other things didn't.
Yeah, no, it spoke your language. I totally get that, man. Yeah. I think a lot of us have that. Maybe I don't want to speak for everyone else, but I know I had that connection with games. For me, Super Mario Brothers 3 was my game, and just playing that, it felt like I don't know. It sucks in your. It's like your whole world becomes about trying to play that game, trying to beat that game, that whole thing. So I totally dig that. When did you? When was like your first Mario experience, and what game was it?
It was Mario. Yeah, it would have been Mario World.
Okay.
I think it was 1992. So I've been telling people 1991 because I don't remember it. It was either 91 or 92. And I got Super Nintendo and Mario World for Christmas that year. And I was 4. And it was really funny because my dad didn't know how to hook it up. And so like there we are on Christmas morning, like we're all sitting around the TV and we plugged it all in and Dad did all the things and he read all the papers and we turn it on and nothing happens.
Oh no.
And we do some more stuff and he flips some more switches and we turn it on, nothing. And then finally like we turn it and the Nintendo logo comes up and I think my whole family like collectively pog champed. It was really funny.
You'd wonder, like, how could you screw up plugging in a Nintendo? But I don't know if you guys had RF or whatever the connection might be. But there are things you can screw up. So.
Back then.
Yeah, right. It could have been anything. So cool. So when I got to imagine then. So you're first playing through Super Mario World. You want to beat everything in it, I'm assuming.
Yeah, but honestly, I mean, I was kind of young, so it was really like almost more of a space.
Yeah.
I just wanted, because I had an Atari before that. My dad had got one because he was kind of a gamer computer guy too. So he wanted to play Atari, and it was like I wanted to beat the levels, but it was like being good at it was just I wanted to explore the space.
Yeah,
and I want to be able to find all the secrets and jump around, and like I didn't think of it so much. Just like looking back on how I thought of it as a kid, like I didn't think of it so much as like, this is a system of obstacles and you go from A to B and you go down the line. It was just, here's a world. I can run around in it. I can find treasures and do stuff and it doesn't matter. It was almost more like Minecraft.
Totally.
Minecraft,
the sandbox. You enjoyed the sandbox.
Like Mario World felt like that to me. Donkey Kong Country felt like that to me. It didn't, I don't know. I didn't take it like a linear thing.
No, I'm right there with you. And I think that's kind of the interesting thing about Mario World. As much as it's not that much different than Mario 3 as far as the world itself, it felt like you were able to explore places that you just, the Nintendo Marios just didn't offer at the time. So by 92, let's see, I was probably already 10 or 11 years old. So it was like, I'd already had those experiences. I tried to imagine it if I didn't have those experiences, but how cool that this whole thing just kind of opens up for a kid to play it,
Yeah, it was. I think if I would have been born a little bit earlier, it might really have been Zelda. But I really would have got like Zelda 1 because I just love all the secrets, the hidden paths in Mario World. You can go and find the secret key. And like as a kid, I mean, like Mario World took me years to beat. Like I don't remember the first time I beat it. It was a long time to find, all the stuff. And we had the strategy guide and stuff and just, the secrets in the world building of it. And I think I just kind of picked up on whatever was available to me at the time. That's just where I happened to be born.
No, I think that's really cool. I think that makes a lot of sense, especially your age. But I tried to think about no way I'd be able to beat that game as a 4-year-old. So
what if you being a little bit older, do you remember Pitfall 2?
Oh yeah, of course.
On Atari.
Yeah.
That was my jam. Before Super Mario World, there was Pitfall 2.
The sequel.
Because my dad had that. He got it for Atari.
Nice.
And that was like my first exposure to like home consoles was Atari, actually.
The Pitfall games, both 1 and 2 got ported to a bunch of other ones. So I didn't have Atari, but we had VIC-20, which had Pitfall on it. So it was like, that was like the game,
Yeah, there were all kinds of ports of it. But just like how you remember, like, it's such a big world,
right, and
there's no like levels. You're just running around in it, and you can find different passageways and ladders and stuff, and the little red X's for checkpoints. Like, I love that. That was just, I don't want anything from this game. I just want to be here and run around. It's cool enough.
That's so cool. One of the things I know you've actually on your stream, you do talk about collecting and things like that. Did that just become a part as you were growing up, or was that later on? How did you become a collector at the same time you were playing all these games?
I just wanted to get more games.
Cool.
As I grow up and get my own money.
Sure.
I remember, I think it was Paper Mario for N64 was the first game I bought like with my own money that I had, and I went to the store on launch day and I got it. But it just kind of started where, because like as I grew up, a lot of the Super Nintendo games kind of dropped off, and you started to see them a lot in flea markets and Goodwills and stuff. So I could get 20 games for $10, and so I got a ton of them. A lot of my collection was actually picked up. I'd say like 70% of it was picked up back when it didn't matter, it wasn't as hard to find everything.
I'm so jealous.
I've had this stuff for a long time. I've just, a lot of people like kind of got into it and got rid of it, or, I had to sell all my stuff or I lost it. And I didn't. I just kind of hung on to it.
I wish I would have had the foresight.
I feel so sad when people tell me, because I talk to people on stream about it. And, I had like little Samson and I traded it to my buddy in school. I'm like, why would you know? It's so sad. It always makes me sad. But then on the other hand, it's cool to tell people like, hey, that game that you just had sitting around at your parents' house is like, that's worth like $500. So it's been a weird road with collecting, man. It's been weird.
Bandager, I am old enough to have bought those dirt cheap carts, and I missed the opportunity. So, one of the things I even back then, a Nintendo 64 game must have been like $50 or $60 on launch day. I can't remember the exact price, but it wasn't cheap,
Yeah.
So
yeah, they've always been kind of $60 for a new,
it's like the same,
new game.
That price hasn't changed much.
Yeah.
So when do you? So okay, as you're playing through all these games, when do you? Is it what comes first? Is it streaming or is it deciding to try to create your own thing? Like, how does it work? How do you become a Mario creator? If you don't mind me asking.
Well, I mean, for me, it's been a long journey. It's something I did a ton as a kid. And, I had other interests and hobbies, and I did music and tried out all these other things, but gaming was just kind of always there. I always played it. I honestly can say that I don't think I've really gone more than a couple months in my life without playing Mario World.
Oh, wow.
Like, even if I was doing other things at the time or wasn't focused on that, I got involved with Twin Galaxies, actually, back in 2010. And I've since severed ties with that organization.
But it was what was available at the time,
Yeah. At the time, I wish I would have known about Twitch a little bit earlier. But it was growing too, and I was watching it. I mean, I remember the classic games done quick. I remember seeing like Carl Sagan do Yoshi's Island 100% at GDQ in January 2013.
Oh wow!
And being like, oh, I really, I want to get on that level. And I had done some stuff with Twin Galaxies, and I was involved with gaming. I had streamed a little bit to do some live attempts and stuff. And then when Mario Maker 1 came out, that was when I sat down and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna start here because like I was right. There was a big kind of wave coming. A lot of hype for Mario Maker 1. People could use it,
right,
to springboard yourself maybe into a career doing this, or at least get your name out there. And a lot of I was involved for that first kind of wave of Mario Maker 1 on Twitch, and like I started in January 2016 streaming full time, and picked up, made friends a lot with people that were streaming Mario Maker, and kind of managed to kind of help propel that whole community forward in the start a little bit. I mean, I didn't do that all by myself, but that was the atmosphere at the time. We were all picking up Mario Maker. We were all learning how to make levels. We were all discovering tech. We were all like meeting each other and blowing each other's minds for the first time. So it was a fun era to get involved.
I know ROM hacks were around before Mario Maker 1, but Mario Maker 1 seems like the perfect storm of everyone getting involved, the right game at the right time with the right people type of thing. It seems like it all happened at once. Had you tried any sort of level creation before Mario Maker 1?
Yes, I was aware of Lunar Magic,
cool,
and I was aware of the Kaizo series, as well as just kind of modified Mario World in general.
Right.
There were a couple back in the day. There was the Kaizo series, the Takamoto Kaizo series, the asshole Mario.
Yes.
And there was also the Mario Frustration, if you remember that, with the guy Goombas. Goombas. Yeah. Do some push-ups, Mario. There was that. And there was also those musical automatic Mario World levels that played themselves. And I was aware of all of that. And I actually did screw around with Lunar Magic a little bit when I was younger, but didn't do anything about it. So Mario Maker was kind of my first introduction to like making and testing your own Mario levels, seeing other people play your Mario levels, getting to build yourself a like a playground or a sandbox, just to practice tricks and stuff. That had never been available. Like if you wanted to practice shell jumps or something, you'd have to actually play the real game and find a wall where you could do that. But here I can just build myself a practice chamber. Yeah. And so you can just go into the hyperbolic test chamber of Kaizo skills and just, give yourself 30 years of practice in a month. And that's kind of what happened with Mario Maker in the original couple of months, is we all just got really stupidly good.
That's
I'm proud of us. I'm really just
you should be, man. It was so much fun to watch. Yeah. It's funny because 17 I think is when I started watching Twitch, so it all happened. It was really great to see how quickly things got really tough but really entertaining all at the same time. It was really crazy.
Yeah, it was funny because like a lot of us who were looking for tech or trying to build these really hard levels, Panga was there at the time, Barb was there at the time. Actually, I met Barb on Reddit, r/Mario Maker was where he and I first met and talked and started exchanging ideas. And a lot of us who were trying those really hard stuff and trying to make difficult tricks and tech and explore what was possible. We all sort of met each other, right? And there were more people that were in and out back in the day that did it for a little while and left and stuff. But some of us kind of stuck around, and that's sort of what you're seeing now. Is like, we've been doing this for like 4 or 5 years now, almost. Getting on 5 years.
So those of us who play these games and who are familiar with the community know kind of the differences here. But could you tell us a little bit, what exactly is a ROM hack, and what makes a ROM hack different than something like a homebrew or something like that?
Sure. So a ROM hack is essentially you can take the ROM of the game, which is what is stored on the cartridge. I'm breaking this down for layman's terms.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm assuming you guys know this. So the inside the cartridge on the chips and stuff is the ROM of the game. Everything that is the world of Mario World or whatever game you want is there. You can take that, you can put it on a computer, and you can play it on your computer in the similar way to how you would on a console. But now you have all that information, so you can, using incredible trickery and knowledge that I do not possess, you can reverse engineer the code, find out what makes everything work and why it works and why it's all there, and build an editor for it. And from that point, you can now open the ROM file in the editor and change more or less whatever you want, whatever the editor will let you change. These editors some of them are really good, some of them are not so good, some of them crash, some of them, who knows? And they're all specific for the game. So you can't use the Mario World editor to edit Yoshi's Island or Super Metroid. You have to have one for that game. But once you're done with all your changes, you make a patch file, and all that is just a set of instructions to turn somebody else's ROM into your changed game. And then, to not get sued by Nintendo, you distribute the patch file and you give it to your friends. They can apply that patch to their ROM. And if you want, then you could take that ROM that you have, put it on a flash cart that has an SD card in it, and play it on a real Nintendo. So it's our way of just opening up the games, modifying you can do anything. You could change the obstacles, you could change the physics, the colors, palettes, backgrounds, music, animation, you name it, anything you want. That's different from a homebrew, in that a homebrew is an original game that got made, where a ROM hack is a modified version of a game that already exists.
So to play any ROM hack, you mentioned it, but you'll need the original ROM to do so, and you'll have to patch the original ROM.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, you need a copy of the original ROM. You can dump it yourself with
legal dump copy. Yeah.
You can legally dump your own ROM using your ROM dumping device or the Google ROM dumping checking service. I can't specifically say where that's at, but totally ask a friend.
Who may be on.
But it's kind of, and I don't want to get too much on, but it's kind of silly that all that has.
It totally is.
Because we're a community. I get why this is a whole other topic, right? But I get why especially Nintendo's perception of ROM hacks would be negative.
Oh yeah,
I get that, but I think we've really been trying to put a good foot forward as a community in the past couple of years and show that it's way cooler than just somebody made naked Mario back in 2010.
Well, and I completely agree with you, and I understand a company's got to protect their IP, blah, blah, blah. But I also understand that, Nintendo hasn't gone after the Lunar Magic community per se. Like, that program has been around, I think, for over a decade now, and it's community supported. Nobody's charging for it and things like that, if I'm understanding it correctly.
Yeah.
Okay. So I find it it's really cool that these tools exist, and I as far as my understanding, nobody charges for the tools. Like, these are all things that you all have to support together as a community. Is that accurate? Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah. Very cool. So the $1 million question, what was your first attempt at creating something like this before Mario Maker?
I don't remember. It would have been 2006 or 2007, maybe 8. I'm not sure the date, but I messed around with Lunar Magic a little bit, and I was just working on. I had seen the Kaizo 1 video. I actually played through Kaizo 1 on ZSNES with save states, and concluded at the time, no human could probably beat this. I don't really think that anyone. Yes, this is very nice, but no one can do this actually.
No way.
And so I wanted to build one of mine, and I made some silly thing or whatever, and then just kind of forgot about it and left it alone.
So when do you get the idea that you want to, what would you consider your first published, hack, and, take us through the process? What does that take to do something like that?
My first hack was Breakfast Kaizo World.
Very cool.
And that was in, I think, early 2007. At the time, honestly, at the time, everyone was still playing Mario Maker, and I wanted to kind of get back to my roots a little bit, and I was just kind of getting, for a lot of reasons, getting burned out on the Mario Maker Twitch grind.
Yeah.
Specifically, there's a lot that goes into that, but yeah, I wanted to just make something and explore. I didn't really know a lot about like how SMW Central worked or how the moderation process worked or anything. I hadn't really played a whole lot of hacks made by other people yet. I just kind of wanted to just go off on my own and build a cabin in the woods somewhere. And honestly, that's kind of what Breakfast Kaizo ended up being, because I just wanted to explore the possibilities. And so a lot of it was just me just messing with things. I had never done this before. So what would happen if you did this and the other thing? What would happen if you put an enemy here and tried to set up a trick like that? And it was just a lot of like sketching, I guess. And then you just, I'm looking at it's like you try to think of build a situation. I'm like, okay, I've got a green bean, or I've got this enemy and I've got this object. All right, what's going to happen if I jump at it like this? What's going to happen if I run this way? And then maybe something cool will happen. And then maybe I'll think, oh, that was neat. Okay, now how do I make the player do exactly that? And then once I figure out how to make them do that, am I asking too much? And then wash, rinse, repeat, right? And then you build up a hack. It's kind of like it's like songwriting or or anything else really. You come up with some cool riffs and string them together and make a cool song.
That's so cool. I can't remember who I remember hearing this from, but I heard that quite often level creators create something that they're able to play, like that's at their skill level. But one of the things, so I attended your GDQ panels, I think, was it 18, 19, whenever you did some panels on ROM hacking. And one of the things I thought that was different, a really different approach that you take, is you're always thinking about how the player is going to experience something, not necessarily yourself, which I thought was really interesting. And I'm curious, have you always approached the design like that, or is that something that just kind of you?
I kind of have like one hand and the other hand. On the one hand, some of the stuff I make is specifically for me. Okay. Is specifically to challenge my own skills or to show off for my Twitch audience and be like, hey, I can do these cool tricks. Check it out. Watch me do this weird stuff. And I have made certain things like that are sort of just for me. Mm-hmm. And then there are some other things that I've made that are for other people. And I kind of need both sides of that. That's because cool. Sometimes I want to do one and sometimes I want to do the other. And I get it. It's a little bit strange to have one conflated with the other. Yeah. You're doing that. I'm just saying, like,
no, totally.
Perception can be that anything you make is for everybody, when there's just kind of like certain good rules of level design that just apply to whether or not I'm making it for me or whether or not I'm making it for them. Things about the way the camera is framed on the screen, or just the way like movement has to exist, the kinds of spaces you can move through, what's like feels good and what doesn't. And those rules tend to be pretty general no matter what you're applying them to. But like for other people, it's hard, man. It's hard making stuff for other people. Other people, they break it. You know, you think you figured it all out and you made it all and it's all going to be okay. And you know how it's going to go and you tested it. I know this is going to be fine. And then they just break it. You give it to them for 5 seconds and whoops, I went through a wall.
Destroyed.
Jeez.
Can you? So I'm curious. You mentioned that. Have you had, before you've gone public with any of the things that you've created? Do you always have somebody other than yourself test it?
Maybe not as often as I should. Again, it kind of comes back to like some of my stuff is for me. Right. Some of my stuff is for other people, and some stuff I would say like my hack, like Search for Salmon, my Super Mario World hack, kind of blurs that line a little bit. Where I was just like, I'm going to make something I think is really hard and fair. And if you get in its way, that's like not my problem. And like in that one, I think I kind of over punched a little bit. Man, I don't know.
No, it's okay, man.
I was like, can you repeat the question?
No, that's actually perfect. North Antara in the chat says, as a programmer, I can relate. I think there's definitely, it's like development. It sounds like software development. As much as I don't work in software development, it's, there's a process and you have yours. And I always, so I went back and I've watched your clear videos of all of the hacks that you've created. And thankfully with your new website, it made it really easy to find a lot of these. So thank you. But we're going to plug there at the end here for this. But there's a deliberate thought process, at least from viewing this stuff, because I haven't for full disclosure, the only game I've actually played that you developed is Return to Subcon, because I'm not a Kaizo player. These games are very hard. Like, these are challenging.
I don't
games.
recommend the others. You're good on Subcon. Just play that one. Don't stop. You're fine.
It's all good. It's all good.
Come back.
So I'm glad to hear that it's not always the same thing every time. It's how you're feeling and all these kind of things. One of the things that I follow you on Twitter, and you've been surprisingly honest sometimes about how the grind can be a challenge for you, and so I can imagine that the development can sometimes be a part of that. And it seems like the roller coaster isn't always going one direction, you know?
Yeah, it's it's tough. I don't know. It's tough to talk about because I'm really, really grateful for the support that I have had for the projects that I've got, and to say otherwise or to indicate otherwise would not be true. I mean, I've gotten great support for the stuff that I've made, even the really incredibly hard stuff that I thought no one would ever play or love except for me. Actually, just the other day, somebody became a streamer by the name of Swunch, became the first person other than myself to beat all 4 levels of various dragons. And that took, I think, about a year-ish, actually. They'd all been cleared by somebody, like, individually, but no one person had beaten them all except for me. And so in some cases, it just takes a long time for people to warm up to my stuff a little bit. Or for people, I think sometimes people put my hacks kind of like as like they've called it like a goal hack, where they want to get good enough to do that because it looks cool or fun to them.
Absolutely.
But sometimes it's, if I'm being honest, sometimes it can be a grind, like for Twitch or content creation, especially because there is so much pain and brutality and death and punishment in Kaizo. And the perception, I mean, yes, this stuff is really hard, but the perception that anybody that makes this is a masochist. Oh, you just like playing this because you like torturing yourself. No, I like being Tony Hawk and Bob Burnquist doing double and triple backflips. I don't like falling down. I like landing the backflip. That's just what I have to do. Right. And so, it's sometimes, it's always like a crusade for me to try to at least get out from under that perception a little bit and just be able to say, look, this is art. And, you don't like it, you don't play it, whatever. But there's space in Kaizo and hacking for absolutely everybody. And I treat this as a self-expressive medium. And that's all I want, right? Like, that's all I'm asking for sometimes. And I don't think, audiences, people tell it's not asking too much. I don't feel like
not at all.
That's too strong of an ask. But because of the insistence on brutal pain and punishment, and there are, there's funny trolls and death, and you kill your friends in really funny ways. Mm-hmm. That is part of, that is kind of the name of the game. And there's a lot of art. It doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to troll. I think like the more Kaizo gets out, the more audiences are starting to understand different style. Yeah. And there's what used to be just one amorphous thing called Kaizo, where it's all just kind of trolly and mean, is branching out into item abuse style and precision style and all these different kinds of styles that are coming out because more people are getting involved and I think treating it like an artistic medium. So I guess that's kind of a little bit of the roller coaster, right? Struggle to be recognized on a level that I just want to make what I want to make. It's not for you unless you want it to be, or, if I was trying that deliberately, but it doesn't have to be.
That's pretty cool, man. And I think it's interesting that the word Kaizo became this ubiquitous term that is because especially as all of this has evolved, that's not necessarily a fair characterization or a way to describe exactly like your point, everyone's different style type of thing.
Yeah. So, well, and also too, it's there's a historical precedent for that. Totally. We're evolving as a Kaizo community. We're evolving beyond the need for that. It came from I want to be the guy and all these really torturous fan games, all these bullet hell games, asshole Mario, Mario frustration. There's definitely, that is the historical precedent that I think like what we're seeing in Kaizo right now, especially, is that we're like building more of an artistic structure on top of this historical precedent for dickish tomfoolery that already exists. Like if you look at old hacks like Kaizo 1 and Dram 1, they're way more heavy on just Kaizo block out of nowhere, troll you with something. And that still persists today, but we've gone away from that a little bit. We're exploring other ways to kill you in funny, new and roundabout ways. And sometimes the best way is to just make something really hard. It all depends, but it's only getting crazier. We're doing KLDC right now, the Kaizo level design contest on SMW Central and ROM hack races. I'm one of the judges for it, so I get to see like all like the what's new, state of the art stuff that's going on, and it's mean. It's mean, y'all. You guys are mean.
That's such that's it's awesome that part of it it's mean but in the loving way, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's fun. It's we mean it, we all tend to mean it with good humor.
Speaking to that, what are some of like over the history of all this whole thing, what are some of your favorite like innovations that have happened in Super Mario World ROM hacking?
Man, it's well, I mean, when I got started, there weren't finding quality of life patches was a big deal, and I'm gonna miss names because there's been all kinds of contributors like to hacking before I even got here. There were all kinds of people that did stuff, but in the past 4 years, there's been an increase in like quality of life patches, things that fix certain inherent problems in the game, little bugs that were left in. Essentially, I mean, we're not supposed to be able to do this at all. Right? We're not. Mario World was a game designed for mom and dad and the kids to sit down on Christmas morning and play a couple levels badly and, have a fun time. It wasn't designed for triple shell jumps and springs and at all, like springs.
Mid-airs, regrab, all this.
Yeah, it wasn't made for that. So as we start to put Mario World into weirder context, certain jankeries in the game become uncovered, and we've come up with some quality of life fixes for that. And certain things like quick retry, where instead of when you die, instead of going back out to the map and coming all the way back in, you get a menu, you click retry, you keep playing. Or certain fixes for frame rule issues that occur with sprite interaction, wall clipping, where you like accidentally clip into the edge of a wall and just, I was going to make the jump, but then I clipped and died. Stuff like that. And fixes for like deep things in the mechanics. And then like that started to increase. And then people started to make like more custom. I mean, there were always custom graphics and stuff. The quality of like custom graphics and custom sprites has improved a lot. More people like composers started porting in more music. And now we've got guys like Kaizo Man and D to the Fourth who are just can speak and breathe ASM and can make. It's just like weird Willy Wonka, man. It's just the fabulous, most incredible creations you ever. D4 turned Super Mario World into the following: Pac-Man, Space Invaders, a procedurally generated fall level, and awesome. Mario Maker.
It's wild, so wild.
Yeah, and this has been in the past couple of years with Mario World. So it's kind of like the visibility for makers and creators is increasing with things like ROM hack races and the number of hacks coming out, which is incredible. And the tools that they have and the building blocks that they have to work with are just multiplying at a freaking alarming rate. Like there's more tech, there's more new tech right now than we'll be able to use. We'll still be using tech that was made like last year and this year. We'll still be finding fresh things to do with that in 5 years. I guarantee it. Because there's just so much coming out right now. So awesome. And people like have to catch up. But yeah, there's just been an increase in visibility and tools to work with, basically.
That's so cool. I'm curious. So, I think of something, I'm not sure if I look at Thumbshredder and it does something that the vanilla Super Mario World doesn't do. You can spawn a shell that you're holding onto and you can use it to shell jump up a wall. How does something like that come about? Is that something you think of and see if that can be done? Like, how do you go from something that doesn't exist in the game and then actually having it in the game?
It's like I know you'll probably get tired of me making this.
No, not at all.
Probably get tired of me making this analogy, but like rock and roll or skateboarding or something. I got the idea for Thumbshredder because I played a hack called Storks and Apes and Crocodiles by someone named Morsel, and the boss of that hack involved you fighting a big boo. When you press the R trigger, you would spawn a grab block that you could throw at him, and you needed to do all kinds of insane crap with that to not die. And it was a huge hassle, and it was awesome. And so that got me thinking. It's like, well, what about shells?
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know. Then I was watching the documentary Free Solo with the climber Alex Honnold.
Oh yeah, so good.
I was like, what if you're climbing up a tower and getting around some little overhang, like how he's going? He's climbing like up like this and then goes around and up. And so I just designed that into the level, and there you go. And then, and someone else saw that. A player called TJB recently did another version of that with even harder tricks in it. And someone else will just grab something on that, And then other people started doing their own versions of Shredder where so now that Morsel did grab blocks and I did shells, so now they're just like, well, just press R to spawn anything. And so now people are doing saws and platforms and Yoshis and just like all kinds of crap now. And so it keeps branching, right? It just it started somewhere, and we saw one idea and said, oh, I'm going to do my version of that. Oh, and then someone else saw that and said, oh, but I could do it this way. Yeah. And it just goes and goes and goes.
It's pretty cool to think the only thing that seems to limit any of this is creativity. It's like what can you think of next type of thing.
Yes. Yes. It's fun because we're at the point, and it wasn't like this. It wasn't as much like this 4 or 5 years ago, but we're at the point almost where if you can dream it, we can do it. It's scary. And I bring him up again, D to the fourth, who has just been doing massively great work for the Mario and ROM hacking community in general. They have a Patreon. You can commission ASM for them. So if you have an idea for something, we're at that level as a community. It's so weird, cool. Isn't it?
Yeah, it's wild.
If you, think of something, honestly. Yeah. Think of anything you want for Mario World. Super Mario World, but it's raining Koopas, no problem. Super Mario World, but the ground disappears when you touch it, no problem. That got made. We sat around at GDQ and just thought of these things, like Super Mario World, but every couple of frames it randomly grabs a tile and copies it, so the screen randomly propagates. Easy, no problem, done. You can commission these. Like D4 has a Patreon. You can commission any dream you have can be made a reality, and it really is. That's what's super exciting. I'm glad you see that.
God, it's so cool.
It's just imagination.
I mean, I can't remember. I think I know it was in not Dram World, Pooh World. Grand Pooh World 2 was with the Celeste walls, where you could be bouncing off at things. And I think it was in some other ROM hacks as well, but I don't know what you call that. But that was like awesome as well.
Yeah, the wall jumping.
There you go.
Like Celeste. There's a whole. There's someone named Minnie Mawile who currently making a Super Mario World Celeste crossover hack that has all the abilities of Celeste. You can dash. Yeah. You can he's got the berries in there, the wall jumping, the spikes, everything, and we're at that level. Yeah, it's gotten extreme, like really, really extreme.
I just think I feel like we're so fortunate to have people like that in our community who can do these things, who can actually make those things a reality. So
yes, and that is actually I'm glad you noticed that too. Yeah. It's a really important point because. And we see streamers out there doing playing these.
They're the public
YouTube
faces.
videos.
Yeah.
I'm there. You got streamers. Not just me, but just me. Kidding, of course. No. There's lots of us, but you see us out there playing this stuff. But sometimes you fail to recognize that there is just a huge community of people behind the scenes whose names don't get mentioned as much because they're not on camera. But without them, we would not be able to play any of this cool stuff or make stuff nearly on the level that we do. So there's just we always try to reach back into the community.
And thank you for recognizing them, because I hear G to the fourth and Kaizo Man come up all the time with Mario streamers specifically because of all the work that they've been doing. And they're not the only two. It's just they're the ones who seem like they're all there all the time doing this stuff.
Yeah, big shout outs to Composer too.
Oh, perfect.
Music porting in the Mario World is not easy at all. And we're super lucky that we have anybody that understands it on the face of the earth.
So Bandager in the chat is actually kind of an interesting question. Can ROM hacks be copyrighted?
I don't
think so.
I don't think anyone that makes them really has any desire to go that way. I don't think so because it's not ours.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone, and not anyone that I know, would pursue that. And I don't think even if you could, I don't think there'd be many avenues to sell that.
Right.
What are you really going to do with that? And so I would say no.
I would also think that one of the cool things that's happened over the past few years is, I would say more than a few years now, but we have professional streamers. there is a way to monetize the content of it, not necessarily the ROM itself type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's more, I think if you want to make money on ROM hacks, that's in playing and making. Right. You can make ASM and stuff. I know D4 makes ASM and
Patreon,
stuff.
I didn't even think of that. I didn't realize he has a Patreon. That's so I gotta go support that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like if you're coming to Super Mario World ROM hacking to try to make a ton of money, we're a passion based community. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that do this just because we really, really enjoy it and try to spread that love out as much as we can.
Well, that's one of the things that I noticed right away is that my first game that I ever speedrun was Super Mario Bros. 3. You become aware of the Mario community quite quickly, and how supportive everyone seems to be of everyone. And I think that's one of the coolest things. That's kind of where I'd like to talk about next, if you don't mind. That's, you know, I know you have you do stuff with ROM hack races. Let's first off, what is ROM hack races, and how are you a part of that?
ROM hack races started when actually Carl Sagan and I were talking at GDQ. And the conversation pretty much was just us saying, yeah, oh, exactly. Yes, I completely agree. Oh, totally. Yeah, I thought that too. And before you know it, we wanted to make a centralized resource. There were a lot of people playing hacks. There's a lot of people making stuff. And there was no, aside from SMW Central, which had existed, but there was no sort of Twitch side central hub or channel to do this. And so we thought, hey, we can do, weekly races. We can make things. We can have information and resources. People can come in and ask questions. We can put all the information together. And people got excited about that. It's like the Forrest Gump running scene. And we started running, and people were like, hey, I'm on to this. Like, I like this idea. And it seemed pretty natural for a lot of people. And yeah, we got a whole cool crew of volunteers, and we have a whole staff now, and we're affiliated. We got our channel affiliated. We do weekly races every Saturday and now every Monday. And we're adding in more content too. We just had the Akagare race for $400. It was the first Kaizo speedrunning race with that big of a prize. I think it was the first cash prize for a Kaizo speedrun race on Twitch. I think so. Don't quote me on that. But $400 to win it. RB Machak won it. Yeah, we have all kinds of special events. We did the first ever all ROM hack charity marathon last year, and we raised over 8,000 for it for direct relief, which is really cool. And it was all speedruns of ROM hacks, no like real games, mostly Mario World, but we did have some other stuff too, like Rayman and Super Metroid came over too. So we just tried to be the speed gaming, about like speed gaming channel and stuff. We want to, not obviously emulate that and copy that, but kind of going for that same motif to just kind of be a big central hub on Twitch for ROM hack races and tournaments and resources and fun.
If anybody who listens to this or watches my channel knows I'm big on the charity stuff, and I was really it was awesome to see what you guys did for direct relief. I was shameless plug. I donated to that because the cause was so great, and you guys did such a great job of it. But on top of that, one of the things I really enjoy about watching, anytime I tune into the channel, the commentary is just fantastic all the time. Like, it's super. If you don't know anything about ROM hacks and what's going on, you all do a very great job of explaining stuff that's happening, because sometimes there's 4 different people racing or whatever, and so I think you guys do a really good job of all that kind of stuff.
Thanks. Yeah, I do the commentary for the Saturday races, and I have since the beginning. And we have some other commentators too. Marcy August has been doing the Mystery Mondays, and Dr. No and Microwave Brother just did the Akagare race. So thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's I like. Ever since I even saw GDQ for the first time, I like that level of professionalism, and I think that we're good enough to be on that level. So try to bring it on that level.
And you can make the argument that some of the most popular GDQ content is the Mario stuff. So I
mean, that ROM hack race at SGDQ was pretty cool.
So I edit for Mitch, and I gotta tell you, one of the most popular videos we ever put out every year is his GDQ runs. So I can tell you, it's very much a big deal. The GDQ stuff is very well loved in the Mario stuff. So I think it's so cool. You guys did great. If you don't mind, I will make no bones about it. Return to Subcon's I haven't played too many ROM hacks. My first one I ever played was Return to Dinosaur Island, and it was awesome. I'm not the best at Mario, so
Me too.
Isn't it such a great ROM hack?
Yeah,
it's really fun, and it reminds you of, it feels like playing through Super Mario World like the first time. It just seems like a natural sequel. But Return to Subcon, when you released that, it made me think about Mario 2 in a way that I hadn't done before. Can you first of all tell us a little bit about what it is and how you got the idea to do a hack of Mario 2?
It's one of those really funny coincidences that I'm just glad I was there for it when it happened. This is how I met D to the Fourth. He came into chat one day and we were talking about ROM hacks and stuff, and they asked what game needs an editor that doesn't have an editor yet. And I mean, I thought they were just making conversation, right? I thought they were just, we were just making conversation. And so I'm really glad I didn't say something stupid like Journey to Silius or something. Right. Because D4 came back a little while later and said, "Oh, hey, I made an editor for Mario 2." And I'm just, "Oh, really?" Like, you did? He's like, "Yeah, I made one. Check it out if you want to." And this is how we met D4. This is how I met D4. And yeah, he just kind of dropped in out of the shadows one day, and before you know it, I'm looking at this editor like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And it really was. It's just super well made editor. And it turns out D4 has always been doing stuff like this. And just one day we crossed paths. And so at that point I said, okay, well, I have to make a hack with this now. And then we realized, hey, okay, I have the chance to make the first Super Mario Brothers 2 Kaizo hack ever. And yeah, then it was just, no brainer, gotta make it. And we did, D4 and I worked, I worked on the game a lot, the design, and D4 did a lot of fixes for the editor and even fixes for the code itself of Mario 2 to make the hack run like super smoothly. So it was really like, I like to say it was a collaborative effort between me and D4. Because even though like I'm like the streamer and he did the code, right? Because even though I did all the levels and stuff, he made all of that possible. Like, he built the house and I decorated it, basically.
It cracks me up that it sounds like, he had done this in his spare time. Like, he had created a full editor for fun.
That is yes, that's the kind of dangerously, incredibly talented
so wild
level that he's on. Oh yeah. He in fact did.
As you were creating Return to Subcon, what are some of the things you discovered that like were kind of big hooks for you, or some things that stick out in your mind?
That was honestly, if I like to say that if I get remembered for one hack that I made, it could be Subcon. I made it for other people. I made it for everyone to enjoy. And I was just really proud of the reaction that I got for it. There was so much, honestly. I learned so much about Mario 2. I mean, I had played all the Mario games. I was familiar enough with Mario 2 to feel comfortable to build something with it. But I learned so much, man. Where to even start? Do you want me to get into the weeds about it?
Do you mind a little bit? Just because I'm such a geek about it. I really love it.
Cool. Yeah. That's me too. So a couple of things. When you have a bomb, you pick up a bomb. You know how Mario. Yeah. You played the game. So when you pick up a bomb and it blows up, that's an 8x8. I think it's like a 4x4 grid of squares that gets drawn around the bomb. In the original code for the game, it doesn't call the bottom right square of that grid. It just doesn't exist and doesn't have a hitbox. So D4 fixed it. So the bombs in our game, are better than the bombs in real Mario 2.
That's awesome.
This was fun. This is the story for this question.
Yeah.
So I made the game, got it all set. I spent forever on it. I fixed all the cheese, tried to think of everything I could, and I put it out and I released it. And it's launch day. And Andrew G, notable speedrunning personality and legend G, is playing it. And he knows about a trick that I did not know. And I did not learn about this trick until he clipped out of bounds and soft locked himself in the game. So what you can do is if you can jump off a vine, you can get like an upward jump while you're climbing a vine, but you can crouch jump off a vine. So you do just a crouched lift. So if you do a crouch jump off a vine, which is suspended on a ceiling, which is one tile thick above the top of the screen, mind you, and you crouch jump off a vine and stick your head in the ceiling, you clip through and climb up. And because you now climbed a vine through a screen transition, the game sends you to whatever screen is hard-coded for that particular area. And Andrew G figured this out on day one and completely broke my game. And is just wandering around in a glitched out no man's land and just utterly broke it. So in the update version, I made that trick where he used it. I made it go to a special room just for him. But it's like you think you have everything figured out, and then no, you don't at all, really.
There's actually even a category on speedrun.com that is Andrew G %, which I love that you called it that.
Yep. The access. I thought maybe people would like a shorter run. Yeah. So Yeah, just access the Andrew G softlock room. Oh, and fun about that room, once you're in that GG room, you cannot get out. The only way to do that is to like reset and start a new game.
Oh, nice.
Like not even continuing will get you
a hard
stuck.
reset. Wow, nice.
You are permanently stuck in.
It's so great. No, I love it. And it felt like when you released it, it felt like everybody was playing it. And while I never speedrun the game, it was just such an enjoyable experience to play through it. It's great to hear stories like that. And I mean, how cool is it having this legend, destroy your game like that? That's gotta be pretty damn cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
That's so cool.
Yeah, there were a lot of people that played it that I was really, really happy that they liked it. I'm gonna miss names, but like Big John played it and really liked it. Andrew G played it. Author Blues played it, and that's like some people that I really look up to and had always watched. Is kind of like, whoa, you played my game. That's how I made friends with Cool Kid. Like I watched Cool Kid forever, and he played. He was the first clear. Awesome. First clear in the world was.
Was cool he really? He's an awesome SMB2 runner to begin with. So
I like. So that day I like got up and I released the game, and then I like had to go to the store or something, and I came back and he was on the last level and I missed his whole playthrough.
Oh no.
He already beat it. He was that fast. It was crazy.
That is damn. Okay, that's a way to beat a game. Well, I mean, that's so cool. It's great to hear some of the stories that go along with it. I would be remiss to ask have you played around with the editor since then? Would you consider doing something again in SMB2?
I will 100% be making a sequel.
Very cool.
There will totally be more Super Mario 2 hack content from me and D4. I have 2 projects planned for SMB2 right now.
Nice.
One I've kind of been working on in my spare time. I call it Subcon X. I might change that name, but it's like this is a Kaizo. Now we're gonna do it because you can do crazy stuff with it that I never used in Subcon. There's all kinds of item abuse and tricks and weird crap you can do. So here's the game where it's all required.
Yeah.
And I was gonna do like 4 or 5 levels with that. I also have I have this D4 made, and I never used it in Subcon, but he made character physics editors. So you can actually just change the whole character physics now. And I made a new alternate version of Princess Peach that has weird mechanics. And I wanted to make a whole game themed around just that character out of like Super Mario 2. So that coming forward in the future, and then a real true hack or a sequel rather for Subcon. Neither of those 2 would actually be the sequel. But,
just reminded me of a question. Okay.
Stuff right now.
Right, totally.
But though I wish I did.
It reminded me of a question I wanted to ask about it. And did you had you tried playing through any of the levels with any of the other characters? Because in the game, if those of you aren't familiar with it, you're forced to pick the only one player during each. You can't select your.
No, I never tried that.
Cool.
You can do some tricks. Preserve characters through screens, but it doesn't actually help you in the game at all. It's kind of like if I wanted to use each character's specific set of powers.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the Luigi level focuses on Luigi's jump, and the Toad level is fast, and you run and pick things up. And I wanted to like specifically highlight each character.
Very cool.
And that decision, and also coupled with the fact that if I'm gonna make a multiple character level, it's that much more tedious to design because now I have to think, okay, how would you do this as Peach?
Yeah.
Now, how would you do it as Mario? How would you do it as Luigi? Oh, you can't beat this part as Toad. Right. And it's like I'm designing 2 or 3 or 4 levels on top of each other. And for a casual game, totally. And it might be really cool to do just a casual all character kind of hack for Mario 2 someday, especially with the new SMB2 crowd control that's out now. Design a hack to be crowd control.
Yeah.
But there's so many projects, right. so very little time, and they all take a lot of testing and repeating and everything.
How long did it take to create Return to Subcon? Just
Subcon was I think 5 or 6 months.
Oh yes.
not that long. But I worked on it a lot. I put a lot of focus onto it.
It's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. There's something you've been, I don't know if you want to say teasing, but I've noticed you posted a couple of times on your Twitter about, I don't know how to describe it, but something with you're creating audio by the inputs you're entering. And have you done that on stream at all? Because can't remember. I don't think I've seen it yet. Have you?
Have done a little bit of that. Actually, shout outs to North Antera, who is actually in chat because I have your chat popped out.
Cool.
Is in chat right now. Shout outs to them. They helped me complete or at least start the process of completing a weird dream that I've had for a long time, which is essentially I want to be playing a video game laglessly on my TV like I normally do, while at the same time producing music out of those same controller inputs. And so North built me a device that acts as a splitter, and I can plug my controller. I plug it into this box, the box into my PC, and into my Super Nintendo. Now, my Super Nintendo controller is a MIDI controller in Ableton.
Oh, wow.
And I can now sample and do loops and trigger things on and off and pretty much do anything an instrument can do. And he set it up to be able to play like a synthesizer, so I can do tones. And all of that can be layered on top of the gameplay. So you can hear the sound of the gameplay, and you can make presets that sound cool when you're not like playing the music, but you're just playing the game.
Yeah.
And it's like self-generating ambient music. That's the pitch.
Have you played Tetris Effect?
I know. Okay. I know about Tetris Effect, but I haven't played.
Because this sounds like the next evolution, like amped up kind of on a whole new level. And I was curious. This sounds incredible. will we be able to experience this at any point in the future?
Yes, I have streamed it on Twitch a little bit, and I'm doing a lot of learning about Ableton. I do not really understand it. I'm learning Prixable Skimster, and so I have a lot to learn about that. But yeah, I fully intend on doing live performances with it. Because here's the thing, the reason I always wanted to do this was because I can go to GDQ and I can play for a big live audience. And I used to do music, and I can go down to the bar and play for a live audience, but I can't play games at the bar for a live audience. They don't want to see that. They don't care. Fine. Okay. Right. How can I sneak it in? How can I do music and games? Because I like live audiences, and I just want to do more live audience stuff. So I'm working on, for the summertime, I'm working on a whole, like I have a singer-songwriter project, and I'm working on a whole alternative DJ type of set where I play games and mix my own songs and samples together, like while I'm playing them. And I would, of course, do that on Twitch as well.
What a great mix as being somebody like you're a musician. So what a great way to like mix a couple of two different passions into one.
My whole goal in life is to just take everything I'm good at and figure out a way to just do it all at once
for a live performance. Yeah.
It's just me on stage going like this, and it just generates gameplay and lights and music and everything. And
I honestly can't wait to see it. It sounds absolutely incredible. And just what you
I want to be Sushi Dragon.
Well, oh my gosh, that'd be so cool. Yeah.
Not to presume on self.
One last thing I want to ask you about, because I know you've been playing Tetris recently on NES Tetris on your stream, and you post about it. You have a goal that I find really interesting. Could you tell me a little bit about what your goal is in NES Tetris, and how long have you been pursuing this?
999,999 points exactly. The Tetris max out is, I consider it to be one of the seminal high score console achievements. I like high score gaming. I came from high score, like on Twin Galaxies and stuff. I did a lot of that. I've got a lot of high scores on console, and NES Tetris is just singularly unique in. I like to say that Tetris is the video game equivalent of meditating under a cold waterfall. That you really just do it forever and eventually randomly one day become enlightened. That's kind of been my journey as well, is to just seek the Tetris enlightenment. I've been working on it for so very long, years and years, longer than I've been on Twitch. And I just celebrated every little achievement along the way. I just got 859,000 on my PB, and that was the first time I've gotten an 800,000 game in a year and a half. Oh my God. Now, granted, I haven't been practicing it the whole time.
Yeah,
but it's a super unforgiving game, and it's a personal Mount Everest for me. Right? It's one of those. Someday I will finally other people have done it. They've maxed out Tetris. It gets done on the regular by certain people. But I'm not there yet, but someday. It's like it's my rock to push up the hill.
The episode before this one, we actually did a whole episode dedicated to Tetris, and Enchantress of Numbers took us through there's over 100 different versions of Tetris out there, and I'm curious what makes that score so tough to achieve in NES Tetris.
NES Tetris is really brutal. New versions of Tetris have a lot of quality of life kind of fixes. The way you rotate pieces is more forgiving even at high speeds. Right. You get the different piece selection. You can see 4 out ahead. You can have a piece fall but then kind of rotate it once it before it locks or whatever, and you've got the hold. You've got all these other things that help you out, and NES Tetris doesn't have any of that. It locks immediately. I think T-spins are a 2-frame trick at level 19, and you only get to see one piece coming up. You don't get to hold or swap out anything. And it's just at level 19, it's so incredibly fast that maintaining control of the extreme left and right sides of the screen is it's so hard. It's so unfathomably hard. It really is. Just surviving at level 19 and just playing consistently at that level at all is ridiculous, let alone working a build meta that builds up the left side correctly and drops into a right wall. Just maintaining the ability to get a piece to the extreme left or right is just ridiculous, on top of all the decision making and the RNG and the speed and everything. So it's just a very it's new school Tetris is probably requires more skill and planning it, and those players are amazing. Not to step on them at all. No. They're way better than me.
Different game.
But new school Tetris is a very graceful downhill snowboarding adventure where you do lots of graceful tricks and things. And NES Tetris is kind of just like being shot out of a cannon. Just like, here, go, try to don't screw up or you're dead. Oh, you screwed up? Oh, you're dead now. Try again. And then just repeat that ad nauseum for 8 years,
I can understand now, I think, why you call it more of a meditation than anything else. So you have to, because at some point it's got to be, right? It's got to be you're just meditating on the thing.
Yeah, it's a state of mind kind of thing for me. And I like doing that. I think if I play Tetris, I get better at other games that aren't related to Tetris, and if I play other games, I can get better at Tetris too. It's weird how that works. I don't know. It's like something in your brain.
Well, I really dig it, man. It's been fun to watch. I know it can't always be. I can't imagine it's easy playing at those high levels of Tetris. So
it's actually really fun because it's kind of just a time to chill with stream, and I actually really appreciate the people on stream that like to watch that because yes, it looks real fast for me from 800, from the start of the game to the transition at level 19. I'm kind of just chilling.
Right.
Maybe I'll screw up a few games, but I'm sort of on autopilot, and it's nice to just kind of chill and talk and hang out with everybody. So I appreciate that people want to watch that, because it's always, as a streamer, you're always a little bit nervous about going too far away from your main game.
Well, I appreciate you doing it. It's fun to watch, and I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today.
This is awesome. Thank you. You're awesome.
No, you're awesome, dude. Thank you so much for doing
it. For you in chat. Yeah, you're awesome. Thank you for having me. This was really super fun.
If people want to find your stream, where can they find you on the internet?
I am GlitchCat7. You can go to my brand new official website. That's GlitchCat7.com. News, blogs, merch, and videos and more all together. Oh boy, on glitchcat7.com. Also, I'm on Twitch under the same handle. I'm on Twitter and YouTube as well. I'm just GlitchCat on YouTube minus the 7. But yeah, for everything, or if you want to check out any of my hacks or anything I've made, it's all on my website. Just glitchcat7.com.
There,
we have a Discord. We're discord.gg/party island.
Oh, very cool.
We got that vanity URL. Man.
Nice. Yeah. One of the things I really enjoyed, I didn't realize this was out there, was your SMB2 creating tutorial, and I thought you did a really good job. I know you a couple times you're like, "Hey, is this making sense?" And it's really, you walked through the whole damn thing, and it was really helpful, even just to research having our conversation today. So thanks for doing all that stuff.
That's also on my YouTube. I've actually just sub to me on YouTube, because I've been cleaning up my YouTube a little bit and putting out some new content on that, and we do have the SMB2 edit tutorial. If you're looking for that, that's available on d4.space.
Oh, cool.
And D4 has a Patreon as well, where you can check out their coding and stuff. ROM Hack Races is just romhackraces.com. That's our community website. We're building a Kaizo community wiki, and we're having more tournaments and stuff too. So you can get on our Discord or anything through just ROM Hack Races website.
And if I may just put in one thing there, one of the, as you see, most people who stream Mario hacks and Mario Maker, they're playing these tough ones, really high levels, troll levels. There are very simple. We talked about Return to Dinosaur Island. There is a whole gamut and plethora of ROM hack options out there. It doesn't just have to be the toughest thing ever. And that's actually one of the things I really liked about Return to Subcon. It was something I could actually approach. Like it wasn't necessarily the toughest thing ever going at me right away.
Yeah. And it's really a gradient. You can go from super duper easy all the way up to, crazy Kaizo stuff. And there's a lot in between. And there's a lot of hacks that blur that line. The website for that would be Super Mario World Central, smwcentral.com. Okay. And they have just everything. Vanilla hacks. Like if you like Return to Dinosaur Land, tons of that. You can play cool games like that forever that don't do anything that regular Mario World wouldn't do necessarily.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to wrap the whole thing up, I appreciate everything you do for the community. It's I don't think the community would be what it is today without somebody like you in it. So thank you very much for taking the time and for everything you do.
Thank you so much. This is really, really cool. I hope to see you guys around again.
Thanks everyone for listening and watching. If you're enjoying the podcast, subscribe, leave a review. All those things go a long way to helping out the podcast. If you'd like to continue the conversation, I'm on Twitter @LatMackey, or you can also join the LatMackey Discord, where we have a sequence break channel. We talk about guests, we have questions. It's really interactive, really fun. Please feel free to stop on by. Thanks so much. See you in the next one.